Doing a little bit of work here.
Say that again?
I'm actually doing a little bit of work here.
Actually, what Frank is doing is cannibalizing another project for this project.
Yippers.
Those who actually come to our last conference got to see some of this engine and what was going on with it. This is a little cheap, like $100 portable generator. It's been converted over to run on HHO. As I said, those who come to the last conference, they gotta see it. And if you want to see this particular project, that would be another Kickstarter, to where people actually get to help pay some of their funds into funds that we've already spent. I spent a lot of money on this. Frank spends money on this. Frank comes all the way like 2.5 hours, Frank?
Yeah.
Frank drives 2.5 hours just to come here and help out. Everybody should appreciate Frank's help, because I can't do everything by myself, and Frank comes just to help further the cause. Projects like you see here on the ground, it's a $100 generator, but actually there's maybe almost $2,000 went into that project instead of the $100. Everything does cost money. You can see maybe you can see some of what's going on with it, but I haven't publicized it because I spent the money, so the information goes into my brain. So as I said, this may be a Kickstarter if you want to see this as a Kickstarter, so you can actually help fund this. If I recoup some of my money, I can further other projects such as this. This went to Kickstarter, and we have to thank everybody again. And actually, I spent a lot more than what I got out of Kickstarter onto this, but I do it. Frank does it. We do it because we want to do it. That's the kind of people we are. I particularly do it because it keeps my sanity.
Yep, you have to be at the Stan Myers Wellness Clinic, or you just kind of go off the deep end.
So I'll cut this part short, and we'll start it back up and explain what's going on with this motor. So in here we have an engine donated by Ethan. Ethan lives down. Where's Ethan live? Southern Ohio?
Yeah, Southern Ohio.
He lives how far away?
Actually, about an hour, I think.
Over an hour. Ethan lives over an hour away, Southern Ohio. He had this engine, which most likely does run, and he donated it to the cause. This engine, if it runs, will go into this buggy, which is the same frame style that Stan Meyer had. And this engine come out of the Beetle. This is a 1972 Beetle, Super Beetle. There's no engine in it because the engine's right here. We started it up the last time, and it ran really good. It actually surprised me. So we're cleaning up all of the intake and the sheet metal and putting whatever else we need onto it so that it runs really nice. And this will be another Kickstarter for our actual road project to drive on the road, because this will be a little while before we get it onto the road. So I actually had a Bobcat for moving dirt, and it's been sitting still for quite some time. someone paid me money for the Bobcat, so we took that money and bought a Super Beetle, which I've already put a couple $100 more out of my own pocket. We got the front wheels off, we got the inside all stripped out, motor out, and all this stuff costs money, like these dollies. We put the dollies under the motors so we can move them around. We got dollies under the frame.
Handy.
Dollies, there's 2 dollies over here. This is the control podium for the engine, and the engine sitting on a dolly. Each of these dollies here were almost 40 bucks. 40 bucks each. The dolly over here I found for $16.99 on sale, so I grabbed one. But everything you see costs money. Just this weekend, Frank spent money to come here. He's gracious enough to buy me lunch.
That's right.
And I spent probably 400 bucks out of my own pocket this weekend.
Yeah.
And we're going to go spend some more here momentarily.
Fun. Always like spending money.
Especially when someone else is on.
Yes.
You say that, but we do need help. We need money help. We need physical help.
Right.
A couple other people come in and out. And this garage, Frank's going to help me pull this ceiling down here momentarily. He didn't know that, but now he does. We're going to pull this ceiling out and put a tin ceiling in. We're going to paint the walls. Back there's a hole in the wall. That's where a chimney goes. We're going to put a pellet stove in. And this is actually a fairly good sized building. It's like 22 foot from there to there, and another 22 foot, 24 foot wide. It's kind of a mess right now. There's old motorcycle, 1972 Honda 175 street bike. It might be going up for sale to help fund this stuff. This will be the office. And then bring vehicles right into here. And this all costs money to rehab this stuff, but I bought this place like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I've been cleaning it up, working on it here and there, put a roof on it. I see after 10 years, we got a little bit of a leak, so we got to climb up, fix that leak. But this will eventually be a working laboratory just dedicated to this stuff. And we got 4 to 6 cars we can park here, and then street parking all down the way. We've got a church lot over there that when they're not having service, people could probably park there. Probably park 100 vehicles down the street, no problem. And we got an old house that's, I don't know, 4 bedrooms that needs rehabbed. Can't nobody live in there at the moment. But that's kind of what we're working on. Frank's gracious enough to help out. If anybody else wants to help out, they can email me. Most people know my email. And we got a couple projects like this bug that is going to be going on to Kickstarter. If you guys want to see it, you really need to share a little bit of the cost. It doesn't take much out of everybody's pocket. $5 out of 100 people's pocket. What's that? That's a lot of money.
That is quite.
500 bucks. $5 out of 100 people's pocket. 600 people watch my videos pretty fast. $5 from 600 people.
That would pay for.
What's that? 3,000 bucks right there.
Really, right there, boom.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah, right. The Starbucks cup of coffee.
Starbucks cup of coffee.
Aren't they like $7-8?
So, everybody that watches my video for a cup of coffee or a breakfast sandwich, tighten your belt a little bit for breakfast. We could have a really nice lab where everybody could come anytime they wanted to hang out, hide from their wives, hide from their kids, hide from whoever. Come hang out, have fun with us.
Yep.
And if their wives wanted to come, they're more than welcome. Unless they're complaining the whole time, then maybe they shouldn't come.
You mean complain about me, maybe?
My wife's always complaining about this stuff. She's not here.
Right, no.
I love my wife, beautiful woman. She hates Stan Meyer stuff.
Yeah, you can tell on the grin, but okay.
My wife loves me, so she puts up with me. So here we have the podium for the engine. With the battery. The battery obviously goes to the engine. We got a little piece of crap sitting there. This is, what is it? 845 cranking amp.
Yeah, I think so.
845 amp. Deep cycle. This is for like a boat. Reason I got the deep cycle is you can put the connections right there and then clip another something on there. We actually have a inverter charging the video camera. And then this is the power podium. We got, let's just turn it on. We got the arming switch, power on, turns on the LED, power off. This is the starter button. This is oil temperature, oil pressure, and this is volts of the battery. And one of these is this air fuel ratio. This is the temperature of the exhaust. We don't have them connected yet. We have to put the sending unit into the exhaust. And right here will go the tachometer, which I have to order yet. So you can see the gauges. We got off and back on. Again, all this stuff costs money. Somebody has to pay for it. Usually it's out of my pocket. Whenever people donate, that money goes directly to this project. Not to this house, because I already bought the house and the garage like 10 years ago. When I made real money.
Yeah.
So, we're going to put the oil cooler on the engine yet. We got a high torque starter. Frank actually paid for the starter out of his own pocket. What was it, Frank? $200?
Yeah, $200.
It's actually kind of upside down, but it fit better that way, so that's the way we put it. And we got the bell housing, we just cut it right off another transaxle, so we had something to mount the starter onto. And right here is to the ignition coil. It turns power onto the ignition coil. And here's the starter button. I can actually start it from right here if I wanted to. Power on, starter. And right now we got a little gas can. It's actually a puke tank for a radiator, but we're using it for a gas can. And this little doohickey here, this is a exhaust cooler. up until today, top secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there it is, costs money. It cools the exhaust. We have an exhaust similar to what Stan had. Stan had Megaphone exhaust. This is a glass pack. And I'm actually thinking about putting a restriction in the end so that it's not so free flowing. But it's pretty much a straight shot right out the pipe. And let's see, down here we have orifices for gaseous fuel injection, which will come later. When you turn the power on, you see this bulb here. This goes to the alternator, which energizes the alternator. And it will go off as soon as the engine starts and the alternator's charging. Ignition coil. Most people, you see the coil is pointing down. I don't like that because they tend to leak right here. I always like my ignition coil pointing up. This is a distributor. Inside it has an electronic ignition module. I'll show you that later. Somebody was asking about that. I'll show you that later. Clear distributor cap just because we like to see the thing spinning. And I like to put a ground wire directly to the distributor so we don't lose ground. Fuel pump went here. We blocked it off and we're gravity feeding the fuel so we don't need to pump. This isn't a race engine, so the fuel supply is not really that great. This is the sending unit for the gauges. This is the pressure sending unit, and this is the temperature sending unit. It's a potentiometer inside, and it sends a different signal depending on the heat or the pressure. The potentiometer changes, and then the gauge changes. This is a small power pulley. It's got bottom dead center, top dead center. Right here's your timing mark. This is actually the power pulley. It's smaller than the original. We're going to go back to the original size with this pulley mounted on the front and then drive an alternator, a second alternator here. The second alternator will handle our project load. And of course, Simon from Canada made this fitting. It's a riser underneath the carburetor, and this pipes in. Right now it's piping in exhaust gases. Later it'll be hydrogen and whatever else we want to pump into there. Carburetor course, breather. Oil goes in here. This is a breather for the oil. The engine, you get a little bypass on your pistons, and then this breathes the air back out, and it goes over to the intake. And I just showed Frank how to readjust the valves. We let it run for a while. The engine's been setting for years and years. Valve open, it gets a little rust on the valve, so we let it run, bring it up to temperature. We just changed the oil and adjusted the valves. Now we're going to fire it back up.